So what I've chosen to use for materials is I've chosen a 5.5 by 4.25 card base, along with a little piece of Greenhouse Gala design paper, a small piece of white cardstock, a small piece of the Poppy Parade, which is a brand new ink color, and a small piece of the Early Espresso. So my goal here is to use some of the older colors, which is the Bashful Blue and the Whisper White, alongside the newer colors of Poppy Parade, Early Espresso, and Pure Pizzazz. Now I'm going to throw a little bit of another old color in, and that is the Yo-Yo Yellow, because I don't have the Daffodil Delight yet. I still have to order that. So that's basically what I'm going to use today. So I want to introduce you to a new set that I adore, and this one is called Friends Never Fade. And if you'll notice, just by looking at it next to this designer paper, it's a perfect match with the Greenhouse Gala Design Series paper. This particular paper has this design, but the paper pack has all of these designs in one of its papers. So that makes it really easy. So I'm going to take one of these out, and I'm going to use the one that's actually in this little strip of paper that I have here. I'm going to use this one, which I think is beautiful. And I'm going to use it on this piece of white. So let's get our stamping done first. So I'm going to stamp this close to the top of this white cardstock, because I think I'm going to put a ribbon in the middle, and I'm going to put my sentiment on the bottom. So instead of stamping this into an ink pad, what I like to use is my brand new Stampin' Right ink color marker assortment. And I'm really happy that I got this, because it gives me a chance to update my marker collection, but also to play with these colors before I decide which ones I'm going to order the most of, because I'm going to order all of them, but how much I'm going to order of each is different. So I'm going to pull out the Poppy Parade and the Pure Pizzazz, because that's in my designer paper. And I'm going to add, like I said, a little bit of the Yo-Yo Yellow, which is some of those more experienced demonstrators at the convention. It's being represented by that. So I'm going to just, instead of stamping this, I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to color directly onto the stamp. So I'm going to put some Poppy Parade, right at the top here. And I'm also going to put that into some of these little flower buds on the side. Then I'm going to take the Pear Pizzazz, and I'm going to bring that into the leaf area. And you know, I'm doing this pretty close to what I think it would look like in nature, but you don't have to. Now I'm just going to use green right here for the leaves today. And then finally I'm going to highlight in the middle and a few other places with the Yo-Yo Yellow. And what that will do is it will kind of bring, I'm going to just darken up this green a little bit. It'll bring some of the yellow out that's in the designer paper as well. Okay, then I'm going to huff on this, which is just a quick blow with my breath, and that just gets that ink wet again. And I'm going to stamp again towards the top, because I'm going to use the rest of this white for ribbon and for the sentiment. I'm going to hold down for a minute. And there's that beautiful stamp. So you notice when you color directly onto the stamp, you get a more blended effect. And I really, really like that. To continue stamping, I'm going to use this sparkle stamp with a little bit of the, you can either use chocolate chip if you don't have the Early Espresso, or you can use the brand new Early Espresso. And I'm just going to put this sparkle at the bottom. And be careful with these stamps, because if you rock, the edges of the stamp might actually come down on your paper. So I push straight down. I don't rock, I don't push down and squish, and I just go straight back up. Alright, so there's my sparkle, and you'll see we're going to add some dazzling diamonds in a little bit, and that will make it sparkle, for real. Okay, so since I'm going to mount this, I'm going to mount this on here first. I'm going to do that before I put on my glitter. And these inks dry almost immediately, so I don't really have to worry about it. And I'm just going to take a little snail adhesive, or I could use a two-sided a glue or something, whatever I'd like to use as adhesive is here. Stampin' Up! Has a beautiful snail adhesive that you can use. And I'm going to mount that there. Okay, and then I might just use a little bit of ribbon, and so I'm going to actually use my cutting mat to measure. And how much you use depends on how much you need to tie, and I think everybody's different as to how much extra they need to tie. So I'm just going to tie a knot here. Nothing fancy. This is a very kind of a fancy ribbon, so I can get over doing something simple. And I'll put the number of this ribbon on there too so you can see it. So there's a little simple notch. Alright, and I'm going to use my scissors and just cut myself a nice little, I usually can do it in one swoop, ends of my ribbon. And so then on top of that I'm going to turn it over again, put a little snail adhesive on this. And I could mount this with some Stampin' Dimensionals, but I'm actually going to mount, I think, on the card. So I'll just continue to mat this way. Okay, so now it's all matted. And so now I'm going to put my Dazzling Diamonds on so that could dry while I do the rest. So I'm just going to take a little bit of this two-way glue and I'm just going to dot it all over the place because the Dazzling Diamonds is really going to make this sparkle. And this is the Dazzling Diamonds and what they look like when you buy them. And I just put it in this container so that it could be easy for me to use it. So I keep it in my drawer and then I can just drop some of this on top of the flower very easily. It's just right over top of this larger surface, a little bit easier than a small container. And I just tap it, and that gets all of it nice and neat in there. Not too bad, right? I had a little bit of an emergency. My battery died, so I kind of recharged my battery and I zoomed in a little bit because I noticed you were a little far away. So now I'm going to finish the card off. So basically what I did was, before I noticed that the camera had died, I had taken a stamp and I had just edged this piece of designer paper. And so now I'm going to attach that. And basically by putting a little edge on there, you'll notice that it shows the blue behind really nicely. So it's a way of getting the blue to show up nicely behind the punch design. So it's something that I like to do. Alright, then I have a little bit off the edge here, so I'm just going to turn it over, take my scissor, and cut that extra edge off. And usually I can do it really quickly like that, just by flipping the card over. So now basically I'm ready to just finish. So I'm going to mount this on the front of the card. So I'm going to put 4 Stampin' Dimensionals on here. And you can put more if you think you should. So I just put 4 Stampin' Up! Dimensionals on here. So I'm just going to mount this in such a way that I don't cover up the really beautiful designer paper behind there. There it is. To give it one final professional look, I'm going to round the corners. Stampin' Up! Recommends you don't use their punches with multiple layers. So I'm just going to put each corner in, so all 4 corners of the sides. And I think that rounding the corner gives it a really professional look. So I always do that. And there's the card. What I also like to do is design a little bit on the envelope. So I will put a couple of post-its on my envelope. What that does is it gives me an edge. I'm going to take a little bit of Bashful Blue. I'm going to use the same stamp that I've cleaned. And I'm going to stamp along the side here in a variety of orientations. Okay, and that design will help my envelope to look like it's part of it. And then I also might stamp stamp a few on the back of the envelope. And you can do this any way you like. Different people have different techniques for how they can kind of bring their envelope in to the design. So I'll just do it like that. And then what I end up with is a card and an envelope that are perfectly coordinated. Thank you.